So coming up, President Kwawu expresses optimism about the economic outlook of the African continent as he urges countries to shift from mere resource extraction to processing.
They have the capacity to industrialize, add value to our raw materials, and invest to build the social, digital, economic, and physical infrastructure that will connect our peoples and businesses to customers across Africa.
Also coming up, Ghana Enterprises Agency disburses more than 700 million cedis to over 1 million beneficiaries since 2021 as it highlights creation of thousands of new jobs.
I think we've been able to, I'm just going to give you an approximation. I know it's a plus or minus 10% or even more, but about 700 million Ghana cedis has been utilized in our interventions.
My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. Well, first up, a consortium of banks today moved to seize assets of produce buying company, including its headquarters at Joli here in Accra. This was after it secured a court order over non-payment of debts of over 300 million Ghana cedis. James Ishen was at the headquarters of the produce buying company and reports.
We are here at the Produce Buying Company Limited, and what is happening here is an order of execution having some bailiff attached to some properties here at the premises of the company. And basically this is in line with the Produce Buying Company Limited owing an amount to the tune of 295 million Ghana cedis, and this happens to do with some banks, which of course this company is actually owing them. Let me quickly run you through the name of these banks. The Produce Buying Company is actually owing this amount. So on the list we have Agricultural Development Bank, we have the Bank of Africa, also Cow Bank, GCB Bank, Universal Merchant Bank, as well as the United Bank of Africa. These 6 banks have formed a consortium and want their money. I understand they've engaged reps from the Produce Buying Company Limited for some time now, but it appears they've not really gotten the exact result or a proper timeline on when they're supposed to get their money. We're trying as much as possible to speak to the managing director of the Produce Buying Company.
How would you know that it's someone's private car when they've not got any document to show that it's someone's private car? So let's attach it, and then they bring the document to show that it's someone's private car.
What's happening behind me is a towing car there, which of course is here to tow about 4 cars belonging to the Produce and Buying Company here at their premises. We've been trying to engage a rep or possibly the managing director for the company, but it seems they are not willing to have any sort of conversations we've had. This is basically in line with the fact that this particular company owed them an amount that is over 300 million Ghana cedis. This is one of the many actions that will be taking place here at the premises of the Produce and Buying Company Limited. We understand that this actually started somewhere on the 9th of October 2023, which of course the plaintiffs actually decided to, file this application. And if this has been done today, and after 3 months or possibly some months, and they are not getting better response, or these consortium of banks are not getting better response from the Produce and Buying Company Limited, according to the bailiff here, they would have with no option than to auction this building that we see here, that is the Produce and Buying Company Limited premises. So that is the situation we're having here at the Produce and Buying Company Limited.
All right, James Ishen bringing us that report. Now, President Kwawu has urged African nations to shift from mere resource extraction to processing and manufacturing finished goods, harnessing the power of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Speaking at the launch of the 2024 Africa Prosperity Dialogues, the President expressed optimism in the economic outlook of the continent in the medium term through collaborative trade opportunities.
The 2024 edition of the Africa Prosperity Dialogue was on the theme, Delivering Prosperity in Africa, Produce, Add Value and Trade. The President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, emphasized that Africa is now ready to work with its vibrant private sector to transform its natural resources through the enhanced opportunities that the AfCFTA presents.
Without the capacity to industrialize, add value to our raw materials, and invest to build the social, digital, economic, and physical infrastructure that will connect our peoples and businesses to customers across Africa, intra-Africa trade will remain at the negligible lows that it has always been. Indeed, Africa accounts for only 3% of global trade, and intra-Africa trade is one of the lowest of any region globally. This is largely due to the colonial economic model, which has been well in existence for over a century.
He further added that the continent's huge resource potential are limitless.
We all know that Africa is blessed. Africa is not a poor continent. In fact, she is too rich to be poor. Our continent has every natural resource imaginable: oil, gas, minerals, and an abundance of sunlight. We have some 65% of all arable land available to feed 9 billion people globally by 2050. And our continent is home to the most youthful population in the world. We have everything we need to transform Africa into a global powerhouse of the future.
The 3-day African Prosperity Dialogue is ongoing at PBC Lodge in the Eastern region. It has brought together government officials, business owners, and individuals across Africa to discuss critical economic policies.
Well, meanwhile, chairman of the Magdan Group of Companies, Dr. Daniel Moli, has urged African businesses to venture into the shipping and logistics sector to facilitate trade across the continent. According to him, the continent's potential to generate about $3.4 trillion annually is an opportunity African businesses should capitalize on. He spoke at the sidelines of the African Prosperity Dialogues being held at PBCs in the Eastern region.
Well, till today, that sector had been dominated by foreigners. We don't have a single African shipping line. We don't have a single African cargo line. As I keep saying, this is our time, and this is the time for the businesses in the sub-region to also take advantage, to take a step forward, to take ownership of this continental free trade. We cannot not sit back and expect it to materialize by itself. If not, the same foreigners will come into our space. There's a lot of money in Africa to be made. We are talking about $3.4 trillion to be made in every 12 months. How do we partake in this business across the continent?
Now, away from the Africa Prosperity Dialogues, Fit Solutions has underscored that the Ghanaian economy will recover this year but will face some downside risks. It however affirmed the growth rate at 3.5% earlier projected, warning that the country's real economy faces severe stress. Here's Mike Kruniger, who is Senior Sub-Saharan Africa Country Risk Analyst.
Given that this marks the weakest outturn since the COVID-19 pandemic, it indicates that Ghana's real economy remains under significant stress. However, we do expect that the Ghanaian economy will move to a recovery phase this year, so in 2024, with growth coming in at 3.5%, up from an estimated 2.7% in 2023. And again, you can see this on the left-hand side chart. So this recovery will be primarily driven by stronger domestic consumption as inflation moderates. So as you can see on the right-hand side chart here, inflation has already come down to 26% in November, mostly due to statistical base effect.
Now, the Ghana Enterprises Agency has disbursed more than 700 million Ghana cedis to over 1 million beneficiaries since 2021. The agency says this has also helped in creating more than 70,000 jobs and the opening of over 40,000 new businesses in the country. Chief Executive of the agency, Kosiyanke Aye, has been speaking on PM Express Business Edition.
I think we've been able to, I'm just going to give you an approximation. I know it's a plus or minus 10% or even more, but about 700 million Ghana cedis has been utilized in our interventions.
And do you think that is enough?
In life, nothing. You should never be satisfied with whatever you get. So I would want more, and I think people should want more, right? The question should not be, is it enough? The question is, how can we do more for people? And the question shouldn't be, is it too small? The question, because it's not about that, it's about even making the effort. In this nation's history, no government and no agency has disbursed so much funds to the micro, small and medium enterprises in the way we've done before. It's unprecedented, never happened before.
Interesting. I mean, knowing your background, for the private sector, they will say value for money, return and shareholder, return on investment and all the rest. 700 million Ghana cedis. What has been the return on investment, if we want to quantify that? Not necessarily the value, but even the tangibles, the social returns with respect to all these funds that have been disbursed.
So it's interesting. So like you said, in the private sector, they will ask you, what is the return on investment? In public sector, we can't look at it through the lens of private sector, right? Because I protect the businesses when there were challenges, right? So imagine, your business, you're in a COVID mode, your business is failing, your challenges coming up, which bank will come in? Because of return on investment. I'm coming in and I'm saying that as government, the government of Ghana, and I remember very well when the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, really made a pronouncement and stuck by it and really invested in the businesses and said that we have a challenge, right? COVID came. Nobody expected it, nowhere in the world. One of the first countries to come out and say we're going to invest in the businesses. Yes, give or take, we couldn't have done everybody, but the ones that we did. What is the return? What is the value of what we did? One, some businesses didn't collapse because of that.
We're taking you next to the Ashanti region, where former President John Mahama has dismissed the sessions that little was done by the NDC administration to sustain the operations of AngloGold Ashanti mine. He explains under his leadership, a plan to improve the mine's operation was set in motion. He was speaking when the Building Ghana tour made a stop at the Adansi Palace. Nana Ojima has more in the following report.
Day 2 of the Building Ghana tour of the Ashanti region made its first stop at Adansi Formina. John Mahama paid a courtesy call on the traditional authority led by Opejakotre Bonsa Afriye II. Addressing the traditional authority, John Dramani Mahama bemoaned the lack of development in the area.
Oko baby bebrea you tu sika koko ana se frango ana bibia. Oko sa krona yetu sa agudie na utimi use e krono etumpon na oko South Africa there will be a friend of Johannesburg.
In most areas with gold or oil deposits, the towns with resources are developed. In South Africa, Johannesburg is well developed, but same can't be said about Obuasi. When we are voted into power, we will collaborate with you and use the resources from the Obuasi mine to develop the whole of the Adansi area. Mr. Mahama touts the role his administration played in the redevelopment of the Obuasi mine. According to him, granting the amendment program of mining operations in Obuasi by AngloGold Ashanti mine was the first step towards improving the mine's operations. He says the NDC left office when the program was at 60% stage of completion.
2014, na yehu say Ashanti Gold sika koko a omotu efi ase no na kofom enti omankasa e ba me ho the amended program of mining operations in Obuasi Ebreme.
In 2014, when I was president, AngloGold Ashanti presented an amendment program in mining operation to help them go deep into the earth to mine. They needed improved technology to sustain the mine. I agreed with that, and it led to the Obuasi deep decline.
And the Ankamode sa Sikana ehia se omode be egu sa mine mu any companies bia ombetimi omone wonim dia omutimi ko asase mu sa ekoyi sika kokko omode sa companies ni na beba nana mampopu miti and one is me friend me Minister of Lands and Natural Resources me say onfa ne nsato so and e de to so and no and omode sha ase any near friend ODD Obuasi Deeps decline. Before
I left office, the project was about 60% complete.
No more 60%.
John Mahama reiterated some measures that was adopted to cede part of the mine's concession to small-scale miners.
Obuasi AngloGold, eka se omoko deep no na e was say omuja assassini bi etwegu. Na a honso yedema small-scale miners.
When AngloGold Ashanti decided to go deep, they had to cede a part of the concession for small-scale miners. We had to put these small-scale miners into groups and find them mining engineers to help them. We couldn't complete this. Now, I don't know what has come of that. We will ensure that is done if we return to power.
And so Meanwhile,
the traditional authority agreed to the slow pace of development in the area. The chief wants John Mahama's administration, if successful, to lead the amendment of the constitution. I don't believe all governments have been fair to Obuasi. I believe one government can't solve the problems of the country. In Ghana, our biggest challenge is the constitution. It was done by the NDC in 1992. Why are we still using the constitution if it has failed to ensure development?
Now then, you have a constitution for about 30-something years. Now yes, this constitution you swear for 30 years. Now Francis Sayama near that.
In wrapping up activities in the Adanse enclave, a town hall meeting was held at New Adubiase. Here, the challenges of the people will be taken and it will feed into the NDC manifesto for the 2024 election. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
All right, former President John Mahama on the campaign trail there, soliciting votes in the mining communities there, of course, as you saw, highlighting his contributions to the mining industry, AngloGold Ashanti to be specific. That takes us to the Joy Business Advisory Series, and businesses leveraging the capabilities of procurement appropriately appear to be deriving some appreciable benefits from a profit performance perspective, and this could be evident in their published annual financial performance statements. We are bringing up the conversation on procurement, the best practices that can deliver sustained and consistent performance to businesses, and as a tool for stimulating economic development. Dr. Kang Singh Pente is procurement specialist with Stanbic Bank, also lecturer at GIMPA. He joins me in studio. Great to have you here on the marketplace. And so, and welcome. We are going to be talking about doing procurement the right way. I want you to, first of all, tell us what procurement really is.
Yeah, thank you, Daryl. We've met again. And Happy New Year. Happy New Year too. So, like you've appropriately placed it, procurement is very critical. I will start by trying to decompose what procurement is. At a very micro level, that is at the individual level. I mean, just as at home or at your personal level, you sometimes have a need, okay? So when you have a need, what do? You have to properly identify what actually it is that you need to deliver on that need. Plan for it, make sure that you have money, you get out there, especially when you do not have the resources internally. You go out there, identify where you can get that particular resources to deliver on that need. That is at the micro level. At the macro level, in terms of practice and from organizational level, procurement basically is a process, okay? It is a process that is meant to execute acquisition, or is an acquisition process, or the act of acquiring resources that organizations do not have by relying on the external market to get those resources within the organization. However, I need to add that the processes to get procurement executed are very structured. They are very structured and follow a certain logical sequence in order that you are able to get the maximum benefit out of it. So that is, in short, what procurement really is. So there is a science behind procurement, and that science gives you the opportunity to be able to go to the external market and get the resources that you need to deliver on organizational objectives. Like I said the last time, that if you look at an organization's balance sheet, close to over 60% of the items on the balance sheet has procurement influences on them, just as their trading position. So all the resources that the organization need for which they do not have internally, they need to outsource. Right. So the process of getting those resources from the external market into the organization to deliver on the organization's objective is basically procurement.
So in 2024, why should corporations, businesses in the private or public sectors consider procurement as critical and as part of their overarching strategy?
Sure. So following from the explanation I gave, this topic is a very broad topic, so we will not be able to use this period to containerize all that we need to do. So quite a number of the resources that organizations need, they do not have the capacity to generate it from within, so they need to rely on the external market to get it. Now, the reason why organizations must have to consider procurement critical is largely as a result of their very existence in terms of profit improvement, manage cost, and deliver sustainability. Now, to be able to do this, it is important that organizations look at the overall architecture in terms of the organization's architecture. If you look at how organizations have architected itself to operate, I try to decompose it from two perspectives. We have what I call the experience layer. Right. Okay. Then we have the orchestration layer. At the experience layer, that is where we have the grand strategy of the organization, its vision, the philosophy of the business, and for that matter, the kind of governance framework and operating model that they use to run their businesses. At the orchestration layer, we have the structure, okay, and then we have the superstructure. Within the structure, that is where we look at what we call the strategic business unit. In other words, those arms within the business that generate revenue directly to the business. And then those functional areas, that is the superstructure, that comes together to be able to deliver enabling role in order that those functions that are responsible to generate revenue will be able to do that sustainably. So where do you situate procurement within the overall scheme of the organization from the superstructure point of view, in terms of power, in terms of influence, in terms of authority, makes a significant impact on how much procurement can influence the overall performance of the business. Right. So for instance, if you find yourself in a very small scale enterprise, you might not want to have a very blown up procurement structure. So the issue about setup is critical. The number of hands you need, the quality of skill set that is required to be able to feature well within the architecture of the business in terms of procurement setup. The kind of governance policies that you have in place, the processes that you have in place. So it is important that you have a broad guideline that dictates how procurement is done within the organization. From a policy point of view, that is, if you find yourself in the private sector. In the public sector standpoint, the Procurement Act serves as the reference point to guide how procurement is done. There is a regulation that is backing it, and there are manuals that support it, same as in the private sector. Now, once you do the setup in terms of structure, you put the processes in place. If you do not have the resource internally, seek help out there. And there are experts out there that can help you set your procurement function up. and purpose it to deliver the kind of result that you need from a balance sheet point of view. So it is important that you get the setup right, just so that you get the right results from procurement. Now, on top of it, you need to take steps to put in appropriate technology. Technology is everything today. If you want to extract value from procurement, there is a need for you to leverage technology. There are quite a number of technologies out there. If you speak to the technology partners, the Oracle, there is another technology called SAP. SAP is quite heavy, but SAP is a very powerful tool. We have open source ERP systems that organizations can also leverage to be able to deliver on their procurement agenda within the overall organizational setup. So these are the few things that makes it expedient for organizations to take steps to ensure that they recognize procurement within the entire architecture of their operations. The reason is, like I indicated earlier, the overall objective of the business is to deliver profitability, try to manage costs alongside, and then ensure sustainability. In each of these three teams, strategic teams, procurement have a significant intervention that they make to be able to achieve those objectives.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to procurement, transparency and efficiency are some of the things we are looking at. I think it's very critical. And you mentioned technology. I don't know how effectively technology helps in ensuring there is transparency and there is efficiency.
Sure. So fast forward. Let's take it, for every procurable activity, there is a need, like I indicated earlier, there is a science behind procurement, not a physical science, but there is some science behind procurement. So the science starts from planning, When you plan, every organization have some long-term plans, which they decompose into annual plans. So for each year, you need to take steps to implement your annual plan. And within the annual plan, the bucket, you have quite a number of activities that you need to embark on, for which you do not have the resources internally, so you need to go out to get them done. If you do the planning and you have the work breakdown structure and proper budgeting applied to it, once the budget hearing, depending upon your environment, find yourself, when the budget is approved, they use technology to load the budget on the system with the reference IDs for each item that has been decomposed in the budget. I mean, to fast forward, to initiate any sourcing, you need to go to the technology to actually select what you need. It goes through the workflow, go to your DOA. The DOA release and approve it based on the availability of budget and cash cover. Then, before procurement can go to market to source, you have to constitute a governance around how, when you receive proposal from the market, that particular those proposals are evaluated before a recommendation is made. Once the recommendation is made, it is important that the team that is responsible for making the evaluation and making the recommendation will not be responsible for determining the approval and the award. It goes to another level of approval. And then use the same technology to communicate the award.
Got to go. Like you said, it's a big topic.
We need to have some series.
Dr. Kansi Bente, procurement specialist with Stanbic Bank, also lecturer at GIMPA. Appreciate your time. We'll continue this conversation.
Sure, it is. We need to serialize it.
myjoyonline.com/business. That's where to go for the day's latest stories. My name is Daryl Kwawu. There you go. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for watching The Marketplace. We'll be back next week.